Welcome back, everybody. In the last episode, we made our character be able to walk around, and we made it a little skeleton guy, and we set up what we were thinking of being the system of how the game will work. So you start in a menu and you go through different levels, and you then get random choices. But we didn't string anything together, and we haven't got any artwork yet, except for our character. So in this episode, I think I'll start on the dungeon tile set. I think I'm going to make it very basically, so that we can get a sense of how the levels should be laid out, what art style we want. I think I'll also make a couple of little characters to fight, and then we'll see how it goes. So let's jump straight in. We're going to open up a new document. So I've just got a 256 by 256 pixel image or document here. I'm just turning on the grid and adding. I'm making it 8 by 8 pixels. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm going to make a tile set. Okay, so I've opened up this actor, the static actor as well. Just because I know it has all the four colors, this black, white, green, and dark green. So I'm just going to color pick those. I've made the background green for now. But what I'm going to start doing is just imagine the dungeon. So I'm going to take this black, and then we're gonna. I think what I'm just gonna have is the floor will be light green, and I think for now the background bit will be black. Like where you can't walk, and then also I might have just some little, like rocks or something, just to make it a bit more interesting on the ground. So each one of these will have a little pattern in it. Okay, so this is very, very basic for now, but this is going to be the tile set that we make everything on. Obviously, I might be able to fill it up eventually, especially if we're using text and stuff. But for now, I'll just export this and put it into tiled. Okay, so I just simply have to press new tile set, and then I just choose the source image. Okay, so now we have the tile set. Obviously, we'll definitely add to it later, but let's keep it simple for now. And then I need to make a new map. I'll keep it 64 by 64. Okay, so I'm just going to hop back into GB Studio now, and we're going to think about what we need to make. So obviously we have the initial level where we start, and obviously I think this will be... I don't know how this will work yet. It might be like a cave that has like a wizard or something in it, just like in the GB Studio template, but obviously we make our own stuff and have some like story aspects to it, almost like an altar, that you upgrade at, I think. And obviously I've had a lot of suggestions of people said that they would want a bomb upgrade, so you can drop a bomb and then the bomb would obviously impact stuff in the level, and I think that's definitely possible. I also want to give yourself a bow instead of a sword, and obviously there will be a sword as well. So that's 3 possible upgrades, and obviously we can always increase our stats, like our health and our attack damage. And then the learn to fight, you'll be like exiting that cave bit, and then there's always, actually not always, it can be the first time we leave that this scene basically has something in it so that we can learn to fight in it. And then once we enter the dungeon from this, we get sent to a random one. And obviously we can have as many as we want. So I think what I'll do is I'll block out this first level, and it's going to be very simple. It's just going to be a black outline. And obviously I want the altar to be at the back of it. And then I think the idea will be that this is where they use their, upgrade points or something, which leads to them being able to complete the game by using the points that they've earned by killing all the stuff. Because obviously in roguelikes and roguelites, the idea is that your death is permanent, but you can, for example, be rewarded for the stuff you did in your life. Sometimes, obviously, it depends on which game, but in this game, I want it to be that when you die, you keep stuff, but obviously your progression through the dungeon is set back. And that might be a good thing because of the randomness. Because of how hard some levels might be, it could be a good thing that they die. And I think that's what should make this game more interesting. So you see here, I'm just gonna make this into a square, and then we can fill it up with this stuff here. I'll just fill in the gaps with the paint bucket tool. And let's also do this. Let's take some more of these. Obviously, if you watched my tileset tutorial, you know that if you go into the dungeon bit and then you right click on a grid tile and you increase the probability, then it means that you in the randomness thing, you're more likely to get it. So if I change this to 10 and I do it again and I do this randomness, you can see that I don't need to select all of these other tiles now because I've got this one and the probability of it coming up is 10. And so there we go. So obviously I need to make a what looks like an altar. I need to make a character. Obviously, if it's a saved location as well, I could make a path or something. I could make bigger rocks. But for now, that's what we need. In game development, you don't want to... There's a thing called a minimum viable product, which is obviously the smallest thing you can make, given your resources and time, in order to get across the idea of the game. So let's save that. I'm going to use the auto crop feature just to cut it down. And then I'm going to export this. Actually, I'm going to save it, then export it. When you export it, you need to make sure that it goes into the project's assets folder and it goes into the background. So you can see here we've got the placeholder and we just want to put it into the same thing. And that means that when we open up GB Studio, we can just click on the placeholder here and then alter level is what I call it, and there it is right there. And now we're coming into the question of colors again. So obviously I found that last time this red, and I did change it after I finished recording the video to be a more like a blood red, and I put that in the thumbnail of the last video. But yeah, I'm gonna see how this works. I'm just gonna change this to level. Ooh, that blue looks nice. Obviously, it's not very hell-like. I was thinking that maybe if... Yeah, I was talking in the comments before with someone that I was thinking of having this like a hell. Like, obviously, we are a skeleton, and that's a very, kind of unique thing. Obviously, the idea of Zelda just being a human running around fighting is very overplayed. So if we think about how, if we're a skeleton, what does that mean? And I suggested in the last video that maybe it means we're dead. And the idea of there being an altar here and a wizard character or something, and it's implying that we are able to get back to our life or something. There could even be a cutscene about that kind of stuff. But yeah, if we think about the colors now of what we might want to see, I think red is definitely a good one. In my studies, I found that blue is actually it's a more off-putting color than red. Red is a warm, homely color, while blue makes you feel like you don't belong almost. So this blue does work, but obviously the idea of hell is kind of like a red fiery idea, right? And obviously it's all ideas, so it could be blue fire, and that could be cool. So the red and blue is also a great contrasting colors. So it's really up to us, and we can always change it. It's simple to change the colors. You'd obviously just go into the palettes thing, wrong one, palettes, and then if we add a new one or change an old one, then if I copy this red over and I put it into the position of these rocks, which is the dark green, then maybe we can have a see what that looks like. Okay, so it looks like a mushroom or something right now, this shape. But it doesn't quite fit what I'm thinking. So I can't really think about it right now. It's hard for me to visualize it. So what I'm going to do is... Oh, I've already got the black and white thing. And our character is black and white, so it makes sense to not have a black and white palette behind it. Obviously, I do like the black and white palette, but it isn't always a great thing. So I'm going to keep this red on the dark green. I'm going to make a lighter red here, I think. Let's decrease the saturation and increase the brightness. Let's color this red, and then do the same thing, but not as much. I'm going to do the same thing here as well. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, that is definitely more hell-like, but I can already tell we need more orange in it. So let's try and add some orange into it. That's nice, that's very nice. And I noticed as well that the dark red didn't really work. Okay, so this feels way up more like what I was thinking. So I'm pretty happy with that. Obviously, we can come back to it, so I will come back to it, because if you stare at something for too long, then you're often more likely to just overlook something so obvious, right? And also just waste time often, that there are more important things to do. For example, make the other levels. So we've made it now so, you start in this bit, we can actually make that happen now. So let's make it say, on initiate, we can say, welcome to Dead Dungeon. And then we can change the scene. And we obviously want to put it into whatever this one's called. We'll call this the altar now. Now we're having a bit more of a creative juices flowing. I'll make the character face upwards. Okay, so when the player comes in, it says welcome to Dead Dungeon. Let's see if it fits on one line. Yes, it does. Okay, welcome to Dead Dungeon. And then once you've obviously pressed the button to get it off the screen, you get brought here. So we also want to add some collision. Obviously this map will definitely change, but it's good practice to put in collision, because you might forget to do it later and you might want to test it or show it to someone. So let's put in the collision. Okay, so when you're putting in collision, you can easily, turn it off or turn off everything else to let you access it easy. And you can also go into the colors and press hide, and it will hide all the collision, which is a very, nice thing to do, just so that you don't, like if I was to address the colors while I'm looking at this, obviously I would be wrong about the colors, because the red collision is red. But there we go. We've got a little first level. I'm just going to quickly make this area. It'll just be like this, but it has two entrances. And then I'll make another one as well like this. And then I can come back to you guys. Okay, so I've just added these two maps here. It's just a simple big map. The idea is that it will have enemies in here. Obviously, I'll try and make them randomish. So when you come out of the altar, there's something to, fight, just to, see how it's working. Maybe even go back in and change your upgrades if you want. But then once you come through here, there's a little door. I've added this to the original file, and then I've put it into tiled, and I've made it, just like a little cave entrance. But what it's made me realize is that I want the game to, I think, work from the bottom up. And what I mean by that is, I think I want the player to spawn in at the bottom of the map, and I'm referring to the main levels here. So imagine we spawn here, and imagine there's no, path off here. So we spawn in this area at the bottom, and the mission is to get to the top and then get out of this, this entrance thing, which will then randomize it again and lead us to a new thing. And the idea is we have to go through as many levels as we can, and then try and fight off, the boss levels, basically. So maybe every 5 levels or 3 levels, there's a boss level, and maybe it's a different one each time, and there's like 15 levels, and 3 of them are bosses. And then once you've done those 3 bosses, then you've beaten the game. Something like that. Obviously, I don't know exactly what yet, but the idea of starting at the bottom and trying to find this door, I think works pretty well. I haven't obviously tested it, but we'll see. So given that idea, I think I'm gonna work on an enemy now. because these will be the main thing. It will be the enemy design. The level design, I don't know how much that will play a part in it yet, so I'm not going to focus on it too much. Obviously, the randomness is important, but it's basically just a random number generator, and then hook it up to each scene, basically. So thinking about the enemies, I think I'm going to start with slugs, I think. I'm going to take this image here, which obviously is the static arrow, but I'm going to turn it into a slug. It's just going to be a static actor, or it look like a static actor, because it's just one frame. But it's just to test it out, and we can set up AI on it anyway. So let's see how this will work. Let's just clear this off. So I'm going to try and keep it in the center of this thing. Obviously I can move it afterwards. And the great thing is, if we're having the colored mode, then we don't need an outline on our artwork, because if this is a slug, then it doesn't need to have, it can be its own colors, and the background will be in contrast to itself. So, well, we'll hope that's the case anyway, and we'll try and make sure that happens. Let's try and make this look good. And let's give it some eyes, some dots. I'm not sure I like this that much, but it does work. It does work. I'm hoping this is the correct one. It might be this green instead. But yeah, let's export that and see what it looks like. Okay, so I just simply exported it into the right file. And now if we take a look and we change the slug. Okay, so obviously it's currently red. We can just change it to a green, and it should stand out a bit better. And obviously the reason why I chose a slug is because you can imagine them being very easy to defeat, and they're not that menacing, and since it's the very start of the game, we want it to be very simple. So we can set up some very simple AI for this. I'll just make it move back and forth. So on initiate, I'll just make it move left. I'll make it move relative. Okay, so when it spawns, it should just go left and then right. Obviously, we can make this do it forever by having a loop forever. And we'll see if this interferes with anything. I don't think it should, because it's on its own actor. If this was on the scene initiate, then I think it would pause everything. So you might want to keep that in mind when you're making your own things. Okay, so now let's string this together. So currently we've made it so when you go from the menu and you press Welcome to the Dead Dungeon, it brings you into the main scene. And then the next thing we can do is add a trigger here, and then just change scene. Make sure it goes to the correct scene. So just drag it around. Remember to name your scenes as well. I think I'll call this dungeon entrance. And now we've got this trigger set up, we can just copy and paste it around. Just remember to change it to the correct thing. So alter, move it here, face up, and for this one here. And so now we should be able to move between these levels. So let's press start and see what happens. So, welcome to Dead Dungeon. And obviously we didn't hide the character. The background is basically just a placeholder, but it does the job for now. Welcome to Dead Dungeon. I press Z, and now we're moving around. We can get a sense of the scale of our scene as well, depending on what we want. I feel like this isn't cozy enough. It depends on what we put in it, though. If we have an altar here and a character and some torches, we might even assess how we feel about it in the future, but let's move on. I can't move, and I know it's because these guys are basically freezing the game. So I recommend don't putting these on forever. So I'll just amend that now. What I'm just gonna do is copy the loop forever, but delete it. Put it on an update, and then just take out what we put in the loop update. The loop forever, and delete. So every frame, or like every frame, it will tell the game to do this, but it normally does it in sequence. So you'll do this, this, and then do it again because it's on update. So we'll see how it works, but it should move once to the left, once to the right, and then move it again and again. As long as it doesn't trying to do it multiple times in between it's moving. If it does, then we'll have to... Oh, I just realized I didn't update all the rest. If it does still mess up, then we'll have to reassess how we do it. It should be pretty simple. Okay, welcome to the dungeon. We can move down into the level. And now we can actually move around. And the slugs are moving back and forth. Obviously their speed is high. And obviously there's slugs, so we want them to move slower. We can't attack them, they can't attack us. But they're here, and that's the main thing. Obviously, let's talk about this. Because they move fast, all you want to do is change the speed to slower. You could also make them move, one by one and wait in between that, but you don't have to. I also noticed this one was overlapping, so you can click use collisions. And if you're going to have like random, like them walking around randomly, then you would definitely want to use collisions because you don't want them walking through the walls. So yeah, that's a pretty simple thing. And obviously if you've watched my Zelda combat tutorial, then you know what we can do to make this into a fighting game. But for now, we've been thinking about the game. We've made some tileset for it. So next episode, I'm gonna add the combat into the game so that the player can fight, and obviously if a slug touches you, then you take damage. We could also make different enemy types like goblins or something, just so that there's something that can fight us back and like swing a sword at us. And if it's not too long of an episode, then I can add the altar where we choose our upgrades and stuff. And especially if we can defeat slugs, we should have a money system, or maybe not a money system, but like an experience leveling system, in which we can spend our levels on getting upgrades. But that's it for now. I think I'll leave it there. Please tell me what you'd like to see in the comments, because this could go anywhere. Obviously, I'm telling you my ideas, but game development should be iterative, especially if you're like me and you don't really have a completely exact idea on what the game will be and what is most fun. So we'll be changing things as it goes and coming up with new ideas. But this has been the Dead Dungeon. If you have any ideas, please let me know. I want to make sure I thank my patrons. They're on screen right now. Thank you so much to you guys. You guys are the best. Remember to like the video if you like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment on what you want to see next, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.